In Wingspan, you are transported to a world of vibrant birds and lush wildlife preserves. As a bird enthusiast, your goal is to discover the most magnificent birds and add them to your collection, utilizing the unique abilities of each bird to create powerful combinations in your habitats. Whether you're gathering food tokens via custom dice, laying beautiful eggs, or expanding your collections with hundreds of unique bird cards, each action contributes to the growth of your preserves. With end-of-round goals, bonus cards, tucked birds and more, the possibilities are endless. Welcome to my review of Wingspan. Hey everyone, this is Thecos, and the big day has come. I am finally bringing you my review of Wingspan. Why am I making such a big deal out of it? Well, some of you may know how much this game means to me. It's my most favorite board game of all time. And finally, I'm able to bring you my review. A huge thanks to Stonemaier Games for entrusting me with a copy. I really appreciate it. Before I will give you my review, I'll explain how the game is played. Feel free to use the timestamps to jump to the part you're interested in the most. Bonus points, as usual, if you watch the entire video. Note that for the first half of this review, I'm using the player board of the Oceania expansion, which has a few different symbols. But this doesn't change my explanation of how to play the game. Just keep this in mind. Later in the video, I'm switching to the correct player board. With that out of the way, let me first guide you through the setup of Wingspan. First, shuffle the bird cards into a deck and place it next to the bird tray. Then populate the tray with 3 face-up bird cards. Next, place all food and egg tokens in the supply accessible to all players. Toss the food dice into the bird feeder dice tower to determine the available food. Choose which type of goals to play with and place the goal board on the table with the corresponding side facing up. The green side offers more direct competition, while the blue side is great for new players. Shuffle the goal tiles without looking and place 1 on each of the 4 blank spaces on the goal board. Of course, you can also choose your most favorite goals to play with. Return any extra tiles to the box. Finally, shuffle the bonus cards into a deck and place it on the table as well. Before diving into the world of bird enthusiasts, each player receives a player mat, 8 action cubes of a chosen color, 2 bonus cards, 5 bird cards and 5 food tokens. You have the option to keep your hand of cards private or public throughout the game. To begin, of the bird cards and food tokens you received, you keep 5 items. You can distribute that among the cards and tokens as you wish. As a tip for new players, it surely is wise to keep food tokens shown in the upper left of the bird card selected. Select 1 bonus card to keep and discard the other, and feel free to look at your bonus cards while choosing which birds to keep. Finally, the first player is randomly selected and given the first player token. At least that's what the rulebook says. As usual, I have a much more interesting way of determining the starting player. Deal 10 random bird cards to each player. Each player shuffles their cards and sets the deck face down. Then you play a game of top trumps, with the number of eggs, the wingspan size, as well as the number of food tokens on the bird cards. This is also a first chance to get acquainted with some of the game's birds. The winner is then the starting player and can take their first action. Now it's finally time to spread your wings and soar into your first game of Wingspan. In Wingspan, each turn is filled with meaningful decisions as you choose one of the 4 available actions. Play a bird, gain food and activate forest bird powers, lay eggs and activate grassland bird powers, or draw bird cards and activate wetland bird powers. When you play a bird, pay its food and egg cost, place it on your mat and trigger its white when played power. When taking the other actions, choose a habitat on your player mat, gain its benefit, activate any brown when activated powers in that row, and leave your action cube on the far left to end your turn. I will go over all the actions in detail in just a moment. At the end of each round, players remove all the action cubes from the player board and proceed with the following steps in order. Discard and restock bird cards, move the first player token, and use 1 action cube to mark their score on the end of round goal. This reduces the number of available action cubes for the subsequent rounds. The number of turns per player decreases as the rounds progress. 8 turns in round 1, 7 turns in round 2, 6 turns in round 3, and 5 turns in round 4. But how do you score the end of round goals? There are two sides to the goal board, green and blue, which use different scoring methods. The green method requires players to count the quantity of the targeted item and place an action cube on the goal board based on their rank order. Ties are allowed and scored by dividing the points for that place and the next places by the number of players who tied and rounding down. If players finish in 4th or 5th place, they must still place an action cube on the goal board with the space marked 0. The blue method scores 1 point per targeted item with a maximum of 5 points and requires players to mark their score on the goal board using an action cube. Even if players do not have any of the targeted item, they must still place an action cube on the goal board in the space marked 0. At the end of round 4, the game ends and players use the score pad to add up points. The points are awarded for each face-up bird card on the player mat, bonus cards, end of round goals, and for each egg, food token, and tucked card on a bird card. The player with the most points wins. In the case of a tie, the player with the most unused food tokens wins. And if players are still tied, they share the victory. Now you're probably wondering how to exactly do all the available actions. I got you covered. Let me go over those now. Playing a bird from your hand. Before playing a bird from your hand, check its habitat, food requirements, and egg cost. Each bird has specific requirements shown in the upper left corner of the card. The habitat and food requirements are necessary, and there may be an egg cost at the top of the column you're playing in. The egg cost is paid by discarding eggs from any birds on your player mat. To play a bird, follow these steps exactly. After evaluating if you can actually play the bird, place an action cube at the top of the column where you want to play it. Pay the corresponding egg cost, if any, by discarding eggs from any bird on your player mat. To play a bird in columns 2 or 3, discard 1 egg to the egg supply. In columns 4 or 5, discard 2 eggs. If you can't afford to pay the full cost, you cannot play the bird. Pay the bird's food cost by discarding food tokens next to your player mat. The 5 types of food are invertebrate, seed, fish, fruit, and rodent. If a bird's food requirement includes a wild icon, you can use any type of food for it. If a crossed out circle is shown, the bird doesn't have a food cost. If or is shown in bird cost or other places in Wingspan, it means, in this example, pay 1 fish or 1 invertebrate. Place the bird card on the leftmost exposed slot in its corresponding habitat and move your action cube to the left side of the Play a Bird row. You can choose which habitat to place a bird with multiple habitat symbols, but each habitat on your player mat can only hold up to 5 birds. If the bird has a power that says, when played, you can use that power now, and only now. Other powers in brown and pink are not used when the bird is played. Playing a bird is the only action that doesn't activate a row of birds. Gaining food and activating forest bird powers. Gaining food is an important action in the game as it allows you to play bird cards. You can choose which food to gain from the dice in the bird feeder, which will constantly be refilled and depleted throughout the game. When gaining food, place your action cube in the Gain Food row on your player mat and take the amount of food shown from the dice you select. You always place your action cube on the leftmost empty slot in the respective row. For each food gained, remove a die from the bird feeder and place a matching food token next to your player mat. You may also discard a bird card to gain an additional food if shown with this symbol, but that is optional. Next, activate any brown powers on your forest birds from right to left if you wish. The bird feeder has a tray to hold the dice, and if it's ever empty, throw all 5 dice back in. You may also re-roll all dice if all dice in the bird feeder show the same face. Dice like this with the same combined food types also count as the same die face. There is no limit on how many food tokens you can have beside your player mat, and in the unlikely event that any type of food token is unavailable, use a temporary substitute. Laying eggs and activating grassland bird powers. In Wingspan, eggs are essential for playing bird cards and also contribute points at the end of the game. To lay eggs, players place an action cube in the leftmost exposed slot in the Lay Eggs row on their player mat and lay that number of eggs on their bird cards. Each bird has an egg limit, and exceeding that limit will result in losing excess eggs. Players can also pay a food token for an additional egg if the slot where you place your action cube shows a food to egg bonus conversion symbol. After laying eggs, activate any brown powers on grassland birds from right to left. Each bird has a nest icon that can be crucial for end of round goals and bonus cards. Star nests are wild and can match any other nest type for goals, bonus cards and bird powers. There is no limit to the egg supply, and if there are none left in the supply, a temporary substitute can be used. Drawing bird cards and activating wetland bird powers. You can also choose to draw bird cards from the bird tray or the deck. Simply place an action cube in the Draw Cards row on your player mat and draw the number of cards indicated in the leftmost slot. You can draw from either the face-up cards on the bird tray or the bird deck. You can also use an egg to draw an additional card if the slot has an egg to card bonus conversion. Once you draw the cards, activate any brown powers and any wetland birds from right to left. Don't worry about a hand limit and end your turn by placing your action cube on the left side of the Draw Cards row. Refill empty spaces on the bird tray at the end of your turn. Don't forget to reshuffle all discarded bird cards to form a new deck if the face-down deck is ever empty during the game. Another aspect to talk about is the bird powers. Bird powers are a key part of Wingspan and they come in 3 categories: brown, pink and white. Brown powers can be activated whenever you use the corresponding habitat, while pink powers can be triggered once between turns on an opponent's turn. White powers, on the other hand, can only be activated once when a bird is played and can never be used again. All bird powers are optional and can provide players with a strategic advantage. The rulebook's appendix contains descriptions of all bird powers, making it easy for players to understand how to use them to their advantage. And a few words about the bonus cards. The bonus cards provide players with a variety of ways to earn bonus points at the end of the game. Each player starts with 1 bonus card selected from 2 random cards, and certain birds in the deck allow players to gain additional bonus cards. At the end of the game, players will score the bonus cards they have in their hand. The rulebook's appendix provides more information on how to score each type of bonus card. Don't miss out on the opportunity to gain extra points with these cards. There also is a very well designed solo mode in this game, but I will not talk about that one in this video. Instead, I will film an entire playthrough on my channel soon with a detailed review of it. And that is all you need to know to play Wingspan. Now for the most important part of this video, my review. Those of you who have known me a while know that this is my most favorite game of all time. Let me tell you exactly why. Let's start with the theme, which is not only wonderful, but also incredibly thematic. The attention to detail here is outstanding. Not only do the birds have matching habitats and food types they prefer, but even some of their abilities resemble the behavior of their real-life counterpart. To make the game even more immersive, I highly recommend downloading the mobile app Wingspan, which allows you to scan the bird cards in your tableau to hear their cries. It's glorious. The components are also top-notch. The cards have a great quality, the boards are thick and durable, and so are the tokens. The dice look and feel great, and the eggs are the highlight with their vibrant colors and great feel. Fun fact, newer versions of the game are produced more and more sustainably and naturally, especially the Asia expansion. Now let's talk about the gameplay. This is not a strategic game, but it demands many tactical decisions throughout the game. The game is simple to teach and learn, with an amazing balance between the complexity of the rules and the depth of the gameplay. Even though it's a medium-weight game, it has been taught to many families and almost acts as a gateway game, although it's slightly more complex than the average family game. The theme and the great game design do a lot here. Wingspan is also a game that enables you to play according to your intrinsic motivation, letting you just play birds you like the most. Would that lessen your chance of winning? Possibly, but who cares? It's about the fun, and choosing specific egg colors for your birds is totally unnecessary, but really fun. I take great care to pick the greatest eggs for my birds when I play Wingspan. I could probably ramble on for much longer, but I don't want to bore you with why I love this game so much. I think you do get the idea. But is there any constructive criticism for Wingspan? Well, sure. No game is objectively perfect, so what could possibly be something you wouldn't quite enjoy as much? The game might be pretty thematic, but that's not a great argument if you're not into birds. The randomness in the solo mode, which I will show off quite soon on my channel, can also be frustrating, as even when you're struggling during a specific game, the AI enemy always seems to pull through and get a lot of points. However, the solo mode is still solid and I'd recommend it. You will see it soon on my channel. The food token selection can be difficult since sometimes there is no food in the bird feeder that you actually need. But you have the option to exchange 2 food tokens for 1, and the Oceania expansion presents another option by introducing a food type that acts as a wild. Review incoming sometime soon. Lastly, the sleeved cards don't all fit into the tray, but that's okay, since the cards have a great quality and you actually don't really need sleeves. It just feels nicer to me that way. All in all, Wingspan is a real gem. In my completely subjective opinion, this game is close to perfect. It is my most favorite game ever. From a more objective or in a subjective standpoint, this game definitely deserves the top spot on many people's board game list. It has an outstanding production quality, great theme and artwork, and very balanced gameplay. Although it's a medium weight game, it's quite easy to teach even to people who don't play too many games. The approachable theme helps, of course. It's just a game that leads to a great atmosphere at the table. It pretty much always works. If the randomness of the cards and the food system work for you, I highly suggest you check out this amazing game. Spoiler alert, with the expansions the game becomes even better. I will publish reviews on the expansions as well as playthroughs in the future. Congratulations, you made it to the end of my review of the game Wingspan. First of all, I'd like to thank all of you for your support. That means the world to me. I especially want to thank my patrons who are generously supporting me on Patreon. The biggest thanks go out to Thecos, who is currently my biggest supporter. Thank you so much for that. If you would like to support me as well, check out the link to my Patreon in this video's description. There you can see the tiers I've come up with. As usual, I'm always thankful for a like, comment, and especially a subscription. By the way, you can also join my Discord server if you'd like to hang out with me and my community. Alright, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the very next video. Take care everyone, stay safe, and cheers.